Welcome to Silicon Valley Impact, where business insight meets startup innovation. And now, please, give a warm welcome for your host, Brian Sparks!
Yes, let it rip, Brian. Well done. Let's light this rocket. Welcome to Silicon Valley Impact. I'm your host, Brian Sparks. The purpose of the show...
I'm the only one that got fired up on that intro. Everybody else is sitting there like I didn't even do this. What the hell?
They're into it, Brian. They are into it.
Gave it everything I got. I left everything on the floor for you.
I love it. I love it. And being that it's so early and you brought it so early.
And it's not, we're on the wrong day. It's the wrong time. Everything is messed up.
Yeah. But for those listening, you are here at the right time. And again...
Only if you're wearing a black shirt and blue jeans.
Yeah. We all got the memo. We're all sporting the black today.
Yeah. Oh, except I'm sorry.
Wait, someone said... No,
I did not get the memo.
She didn't get the jeans memo, or she just didn't read the whole thing. Maybe that's always me, right? Like, there's a memo gets sent out. I read about a third of it, and then I forget the.
We look like a well-polished team,
Indeed.
And you all get to meet some incredible people today. But I gotta finish my thing, Brian. Here,
oh yeah,
reminding everybody the purpose of this show is to have honest conversations about what it takes to build great businesses and communities, so that you can make an impact. In your own. Yes. Take this with you.
Yeah.
And with that being said, Brian, I think what's on the radar today is, I had to say this, but Harbir, you're here. You realize we had to cancel one of our events this past week, but the good news, it's being rescheduled for April 9th. So Harbir, who is here, hope you can make it then. And for all of you listening, I hope you can make it to our pitch event out at Foothill. But it's going to be great. We got a bunch of startups that are coming in that are cutting edge. You met Cheryl. You also met, who was with us last week, Brian? It was Cheryl.
Oh, brother. Seriously, you're going to put me on the spot like that?
Yeah.
No. I have no idea who
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse of Twerk. Oh, Jesse, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's early. I haven't had my coffee.
Wow, Jesse, I'm sorry that that didn't stick in my brain.
Yeah, I led with.
But on that, so now that's the trifecta with Jesse, because I met her at one of your events, and then she walked into the studio, and I'm like, "Hi, nice to meet you." And she goes, "Oh, we actually met." And I was like, "Okay, now I can't remember that she was on the show last week."
You're taking on my
Jesse
superpower.
now officially hates me.
Yeah, well, you're taking on my superpower of a short memory.
That's all right.
Yeah, so that's going to be April 9th, and then also April 22nd.
Emotional, damn it!
Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Brian, on the
I'm finished. I think we should get on to your agenda and the people that came here and came to be on the show.
It's going to be fun. But April 22nd also will be a Second Story. We're doing an investor and pitch event, so that will be coming out soon. With that being said, I've got to welcome in three rock stars today. I'm excited for them to do their intro and to dive in the diverse talent that we have here. So, Colin, I'm going to look to you, man. You're doing some exciting things. We just met this week, and I feel like I feel completely honored for you to be here, because I'm amazed at what you've done, what you're creating. I think one of the things that the Bay Area needs to do is kick down that tech wall, and you are coming full force in Oakland with what you're creating. But go ahead and let our audience know a little bit about yourself and what you're creating.
Yeah, absolutely honored to be here. And, I'm Colin Behring, and we run a vertically integrated real estate development platform. It doesn't originally sound like a lot of technology, but effectively, we develop, finance, and do asset management. We've been involved probably across about $3 billion worth of projects. And that goes from anywhere from Shanghai, China to the San Francisco Bay Area. And ultimately, when you're doing any of those things, development, asset management, everything, it all leads to technology. And then, our group always being kind of forward thinking and on the frontier side of real estate, we just kept running into technology that we just weren't satisfied with. And then inevitably, we ended up having to build our own tech, invest in tech, and now we're heavily focused on technology, and that's part of the full stack approach of what we have now. And with that, we've created an entire campus there in downtown Oakland, directly on top of the 19th Street BART Station. 2 towers, massive podium, everything from live, work, play, go. It had all your space, one place, and that's something that the Bay Area needs as we're kind of coming back from, the whole COVID work from home world. Everybody's trying to find out, okay, well, if I want to be in the ecosystem, I want to be relevant, I want to be running into people, I need to be live, real, in person. Mm-hmm. Where are you going to live? Where are you going to work? How are you going to get around? We're trying to solve all of that in one place. And, we call that full stack real estate. And inevitably that ran into becoming Stak Ventures. So we're trying to solve real world problems in real estate and doing it through technology. And here we are.
And we'll unpack that because that's a lot, Brian.
There's a
right?
ton to unpack. Colin,
Yeah.
Colin got here a little early. We had a conversation about this. We had the conversation before the conversation, and there is a lot to unpack.
Yeah, and I'm excited to get to that. So before we do that, Harbir, man, I feel like we've become fast friends. You were going to be a judge at our pitch event. Hopefully you'll be able to come back to that. But you're with the chamber. You have a different angle with the ecosystem. So talk a little bit about what you're working on and introduce yourself to our audience.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. This is my first time doing a show like this. So
Everybody's happy.
Hey-o.
I like that. Thank you. So my background comes from tech, a typical tech person. I was an electrical engineer, but I will be very clear. I only remember like two equations, like E equals MC squared and V equals IR. So please don't ask me anything else. But I moved quickly into software management, and to be very honest, I was so done with corporate after a certain point. In 2021, I just quit everything and decided that I just need to do what I love, which is community. But I'm very big on empowering community. Mm-hmm. And besides the fact that I went to Ukraine and needed to show that I can really do something for community, I was brought back and said, let's just do this. Let's, run the Chamber of Commerce of Silicon Valley. And I'm really glad I did. So the Chamber of Commerce has been a traditional institution in most parts of the world, including our Bay Area. And what the chambers provide is a space to convene all stakeholders, be champions for very specific causes, and catalyze change and based on the needs of that time. Mm-hmm. And currently our areas of focus are advocacy, because chambers represent the business community in the world. Whether it's public policy, whether it's your local cities, it's your region, etc. We are the only regional chamber in the Valley. And that means we cover the whole area from, it's supposed to be traditionally San Mateo to Santa Clara County, but we're very heavily focused in Santa Clara County. And the programming we provide, as I said, was advocacy, focusing on education. Then it's how do we connect you to resources, opportunities, tools, people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But the reason I truly love this is because if everybody can sustain themselves with a job or a source of income, then everybody will be able to create a thriving life for themselves. And there will be not a concern of, do I have enough social services? Mm-hmm. We definitely need those social services, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that we got to think about empowerment and sustainability of a society with economic development. And that's what I love about this.
Yeah, I love that too. And we're going to go down that rabbit hole because I think when you and I jumped on a call, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, we started geeking out, right? We started geeking out on building community. Colin has really put his efforts into building community. You all have big projects, so we may start there and then kind of build out from that. But talk about building community. Walla, welcome. You're creating something. You and I met at the Startup Grind event. You also have worked with Bill Reichert, who's been on the show, and you're creating something pretty cool. So tell our audience a little bit about what you have going and about ClassX.
Okay, thank you, Brian, for the invitation. This is my first show in the Bay Area. So we are working on building ClassX and with a mission and the ambition to create a systemic alternative for education. So my background is in computer science, especially in networks administration. And what I like most about technology is how technology brought people together and created the new collaboration systems. We saw Airbnb, we saw Uber. Beyond the product, these technologies, they brought people together. They brought drivers and hosts together. They brought a lot of different stakeholders through their platform. They create a new collaboration system. So this is what we are trying to do with ClassX. We want to offer an alternative for education by connecting instructors, vetted instructors, industry leaders with venues, so people can attend learning in person. We know education, EdTech, we were always talking about recorded classes, self-paced learning. We try to find a way to keep the good points of traditional learning, communities, connections, being in a classroom, connecting with people, connecting with the instructor, and make it scalable by connecting the right instructors to venues.
Nice. And I know you've gotten some traction. And so we'll talk a little bit about how that's going.
People like it so much here.
I know. So we'll talk about that and where this is going in the next 3, 6, 18 months. But let's kind of like come back to Colin, and we'll also bounce questions off each other, because really our audience is here to get insights in the startup ecosystem and how to maximize their results. So Colin, starting with you, I really want to know a little bit about your background, because you've taken on a big project here. What has positioned you to pretty much buy this building, see the need for the startup ecosystem in the Bay Area, and what seems like go all in on making Oakland the hub?
I mean, from the very beginning, family was in development, in real estate and everything else, and they were always into master plan communities. So you in those days, with my grandfather and everybody else coming all the way through building in Black Hawk, Canyon Lake, San Ramon, East Bay, it was gated communities, golf course, office complexes, single family homes, higher density. It was master planned, everything together. So I grew up around it my entire life. Then, got out of school, went to Cal Poly, and then 6 days after graduating, I ended up in the middle of Shanghai, China. I took a job with Morgan Stanley Real Estate. It was an ex-North America private equity fund. Worked on master planned, massive communities of 10 towers on top of metro stations, everything from residential, commercial, hotels, retail. Naturally, the density of Shanghai made everything mixed use. It was 25 million people live in the city. So I spent 10 years in China amongst that type of density, mixed use, and just accessibility to anything that you ever wanted in a city. And then came back from China in 2015. We were looking for projects and opportunities that would have that same wholesome, master plan feel, where it's just one space, all your needs, everything in one place. Oakland was actually that centralized location that also had the development capability where compared to like a downtown San Jose, being able to do high-rise San Jose, you're capped by the height limit because of the airport. You can't get over 240 feet, and then like building buildings like that is very expensive when you can't go high. San Francisco, very expensive, very crowded, lots of capital chasing it, and really hard to build anything. Oakland was that happy medium. Also, 44% of our entire Bay Area workforce lives in the East Bay. They have to cross through Oakland to really get to San Francisco or anywhere else. Oakland was that true geographic location that would allow you a true mixed-use master plan community to reach density across the entire Bay Area. So a lot of things led to that, but my history of master plan, and into master plan allowed us to do this urban, call it high-rise, city in a tower. And that's why we started right on top of 19th Street BART Station with 1900 Broadway. And we wanted to conquer everything, live, work, play, go. And the main goal of all of this was to make the cost of living in urban Bay Area more affordable. And if it's more affordable and you can afford to be there, and there's this massive community that you're connected to, not only is it more affordable to start, but you are going to proliferate with your connections, your community, and the people around you, and just open up your own opportunities significantly because you are live and in the center of the action. So, we went through a lot of gyrations with, COVID and even pre-COVID and all this stuff. But in the end, the concept was still the same. get live, work, play, go more integrated, more effective, and more affordable. So that's what we were going after.
Talk about the sheer scale of this location, because people think incubator or a workspace, and they're thinking coffee shop. They're thinking maybe a location on top. But give out a number. This is not that.
No, this is going all in. This is doing it right. And if you're going to do any of this stuff, you just have to go full speed. You got to dive in. And we've got a 39-story tower. It's 400 feet tall. Then we bought the office tower next to us and all the garage, the amenities, everything. Now we've assembled an entire campus where it's 2 towers, 1.2 million square feet, and it offers everything from multiple types of apartments, all kinds of office and for lease, move-in ready, flex. Way years longer than somebody that's just burning cash left and right. The idea was to give space and to just make the Bay Area more affordable by integrating, removing redundancy and not having to blow cash on really heavy assets.
Yeah. So did you just buy it and it was turnkey, ready to go, or was a lot of renovation? Yeah, that's sensitive.
No, this took 7 years to deliver. And we ended up buying the land. It was entitled. It had a design on it, but we had to completely customize and redo that design to have all of these elements involved. And in the real estate world, real estate, technology, and integration, these are things that do not mix. Like in the real estate world, it's very, very hard. But we were very, very lucky to have the right capital, the right people, in the right place at the right time to make this a viable effort, and fully delivered last July with our first move-ins. This massive tower is already 75% leased in 8 months, and that's just lightning fast compared to the rest of the industry. And it's just because it is a full stack real estate solution, and that has been super well received because everyone's crashing back into the Bay Area with this AI boom and the tech boom, and wanting to be in that really the center of gravity of this next industrial revolution.
Now, when people think of visiting, and I'll throw it to you, Brian, in a second, think of visiting San Francisco, Oakland, these bigger cities in the Bay, parking, accessibility. Right. You talked about being right on top of BART. You talked about being central located. Someone drives in, is there parking?
Yeah, no, there's definitely parking. We have an entire 8-story garage, and that just kind of goes into our transit offering. Like if you're BARTing in, great. We're 7 steps from the BART stairs. If you're driving in, you've got an entire parking garage that's got a sky deck breezeway that connects directly to the office buildings, directly to the apartments. No matter who you are, how you're getting there, you're able to use this campus as an HQ. Have it all contained, great experience, not have to deal with anything you don't want to deal with. But that's what makes 1900 Broadway special, and the ability to almost change the direction of a downtown core all by itself.
I love it. Brian.
Wow. So it's funny you read my mind here, Brian, but I was thinking about transportation as well. And we had talked earlier about the idea that you've got a garage full of Teslas. So if you don't mind just giving us some information about that. I thought this was fascinating and a brilliant idea.
Yeah, so we picked Teslas, and that's been an interesting conversation here in California over the last week or two. But they offer an open API that you can design your own apps on. So, to be able to share Teslas and to fractionalize them and kind of go into a car share program where you have a private fleet of car share, as crazy as that sounds. But our building, effectively, you've got grab and go Teslas in the basement, so you don't have to spend the money on buying a car. And the cost of owning a vehicle can be upwards almost $1,300 to $1,400 a month if you're doing payments, insurance, maintenance, parking, registration, charging, all that stuff. So turning into $15,000 to $18,000 a year that you'd be spending on owning a car in an urban city, we can turn that into $15 an hour. Wow. And at those kind of rates, you can get like 90 hours a month before you actually break the cost of ownership. Mm-hmm. Pocketing all that money back for the average apartment user and our members, they can just put that money toward anything else.
So if you're using public transportation on the daily and you need a car on the weekend, you just don't have to bother owning one, and there's one right there in the garage.
Grab and go.
It's pretty amazing. I love the concept. Okay, back to you, Brian.
All right, that's a great question, because I definitely want our listeners to hear what is being built in Oakland, because I foresee us doing a great event there and bringing in the ecosystem and showing them what an amazing campus this really is. So I'm looking forward to talking more about that. But Harbir, I want to bring you into this because you have, we're talking about building, and you've been building here in Silicon Valley with the Chamber. You've been focusing a lot on building community for the purpose of advocacy, educating, and providing access. Talk a little bit how you've taken on that task, because when you think of Silicon Valley, the world is looking at you.
Absolutely. And I have to just say, if you don't mind, because I think if we just sit here and talk to him for the whole hour, I'm a big fan of placemaking. And if you don't mind, Brian.
Yeah, go with it.
I just want to tell you that in the whole world, there are so many unique models, but one common model that exists everywhere is mixed-use spaces. And that is something that's very foreign to our communities in America. We think, when they make complete streets, we thought we hit the moon. It's like, no. They've been going on in the world all these years. So I commend you on your project. I have so many questions to ask you because I have a lot of ideas around programs and initiatives like this that we have to hang out.
Ladies and gentlemen, your host, Harbir.
Well, you did ask me to come on one of these days as your co-host, so I'm not sure.
Can I say badass on the radio?
Yeah,
please do. Please do, anytime. Okay, so now I have to shift my brain because I was so inside that building. Okay, so as a chamber, traditionally it was all about making businesses profitable. But I kind of look at it a little bit differently. I am one of the few very progressive and social justice focused chamber CEOs outside of the Bay Area, because we have more and more of social justice focused CEOs coming in, that realizes that it's not about business profitability. It's about business being a tool to help everyone thrive. We don't often realize that sales tax, property tax, all those things are the things that give cities money to do what they do. So we're often thinking about things in silos. And just as, you were saying that you were about how you need to put it all together, right? This is similarly the same thing, that we need to tie the dots. Everything is like a connected tissue. If you don't realize that you don't have a connective tissue, you cannot have a functioning body. In this case, you cannot have a functioning society. And we are imagine us as the first cog in this, machine, but we are the ones who are manually pushing and pulling and turning this cog. And then all these other components or these other cogs, then they start to turn on their own. And what are those elements? What are those cog parts? One is a workforce. Two is business and entrepreneurship. Three is the public who purchases and is the consumer. And then four is the ecosystem in which you can allow that to happen, to thrive. That could be government, that could be your buildings, that could be your housing. And we've seen what's happened with San Francisco. I'm sorry that it happened to San Francisco, but it was a wake-up call that has been often ignored by cities and communities all over this country. You cannot separate housing, mobility, public, your consumer base, and your
the
talent, and all of that together is what allows it to coexist. Now, we are seeing today significant issues with housing, so there's even a greater lack of workforce. Businesses are having hard times paying rent because the prices for properties are so high. But if we don't take care of these components, the tech companies of the world can't exist in Silicon Valley. Why is that? If I have 1,000 employees and they have nowhere to eat, live, play, nowhere to get there, that tech cannot exist. That company cannot exist. And we are trying to bring back the focus on that connective tissue, on that connectivity between all these elements. Now, of course, we represent the business community. What that means is that when we have somebody has to speak on behalf of the business community, that's us. We help with policy making. We help when we talk about taxes. For example, there's an employee headcount tax. If a company has 1,000 employees, what kind of headcount tax should there be? Because traditionally, small businesses are the ones who are paying their taxes through property, on sales, et cetera, et cetera. But what are the taxes that are large corporations paying? And why are those important? I mean, that doesn't sound sexy, but the truth of the matter is if they don't pay, you don't have libraries, you don't have roads, you don't have police, you don't have fire, you don't have any of that. And that's where I think, especially for the world of tech, we do not understand that importance of connectivity. So I don't mean to sound like I'm being some kind of like preacher, but the reason I want to bring that kind of scene together is so we understand what role does business play in this conversation. And then secondly, do we have a future workforce ready to do the job? And I can talk about this all day long, so I'm not sure if I should be really spending my time explaining our challenges, but let me just say currently our biggest challenges happen to be that businesses can't find spaces and it's too expensive to be a brick and mortar shop now. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Stak has 2 towers and 1.2 million feet to help you solve all that.
Oh, we're definitely going to talk afterwards, actually. We have a lot to talk about.
To solve the workforce problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you want to have a quality of life. If they can't make it to the job, if they can't make it to the company, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like having a great product that nobody wants to buy.
Yeah.
So our programs are really focused on two big buckets, and the third is not really a bucket, but more about preparing our talent. The first is small business. What does a small business need? A small business is just your everything. Anybody under, it's supposed to be 500, but it's really, we counted under 20. They want to be excelling, and they put all their heart and soul into making their restaurant thrive, to make their apartment building be successful, to be a great doctor in the community. So our job is to provide ways for them to stay on top of what's happening. How do I ensure that they know what are the best tools and resources? How do they utilize AI? So we're launching the AI Business Center. That AI Business Center will be the way for them to stay on top because they're the ones who need most help.
So let's double click on that. The AI Business Center.
Yeah.
Tell me what does that look like? Is it akin to what Colin is creating on one end of the spectrum, or is it similar to a local library, or is it something online? What is that experience like?
Great question. So we do have a physical space where we do all our events and workshops. It'll be 4 parts. One is peer-to-peer support. You'll be surprised how many small businesses are scared to talk to somebody who's an expert in tech. Why? Because they feel like they're being talked down to and they're just dumb, right? So they need peer-to-peer to support. That's the fastest way for them to implement AI. Number 2 are workshops. What are the tools for you out there in marketing? What are the tools for you out there for you're doing your inventory? What about your back office and accounting? They're the ones who actually have all these elements in their everyday life versus large corporations are just taking care of one function. These guys are taking care of all the functions. So we're helping them get the workshops to get up and running ASAP. Number 3 is what are the current trends in AI? Because I think we all realize AI isn't something that we can just say one and done. You've learned it once, you're done. AI is going to be, you got to keep running with that train because it's 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And number 4 are roundtables with experts. Why? Because our public policy makers are asking us, can somebody tell me what is the right thing to do in AI? Because if I don't have you telling me, the lobbyists are telling me this is the only way to go. So we are looking for a way to bring And so we need to build these 4 pillars in such a way that we can keep changing with the community. And right now, nobody seems to know what the answer to that is, except for the fact that we become the convener for these topics and these 4 pillars, so we can ensure all small businesses can thrive. Number 2, on just a small touch upon that, but startups don't work like a traditional small business. They're not worrying about as many employees possibly, or they don't have as much of cost of goods involved. They don't have to worry about the employment laws, the local laws. How do I ensure that my place is ADA compliant? So what do we do for them? We provide the market access, market intelligence, and connectivity to those potential consumers, potential business partners, potential mentors, and potential investors.
Okay, I love all that. Harbir, you came in here with all your notes, and you just got in your zone and let it rip. That was amazing. And I want people to see this side of you, because this is where you and I were really geeking out on our call the other day. But this is where you're tremendously passionate about and educating Silicon Valley of the resources that you have and that potential for connectivity. I want to bring in really quick, Walla, what you're working on is educating people as well. So this makes a good transition, where you are creating a platform in a unique way that shares people's knowledge with particular venues. Is that what I'm hearing you saying? So tell me what you saw in the market that was such a gap that you feel like you could fill.
Yeah. So there are many numbers, like 50% of current employees should go back to school to upskill and reskill by 2030. There is another number, about 65% of jobs in the upcoming 10 years. We don't know them yet. There are many numbers, like also 1.1 billion people need to go back to school by 2030 to upskill and reskill. So there is a need. We are seeing that economy is changing, jobs are changing. AI now is changing many jobs. If your job is not disappearing, you need to upskill to use AI for your current job. So this was, we saw this coming years ago. My first startup was WeCode. So we started helping people learn how to make money online, how to use technology to make money online, how to do coding. And while we were growing this, we ended up creating a new know-how on how to scale classes in person, on how to connect instructors to venues so people can get to the same class in person, and we were able to teach and reach thousands of people with the same course. So since many years, we started working on education on a systemic level. How can we provide? It's not about content. It's not about new courses. It's more about creating a systemic alternative. When the market is in need of any skill, we can implement it right away.
We definitely
our
have
platform,
to talk afterwards.
Yeah, we need to talk with both. So our platform connect people with in-person learning in their town, in their cities. Okay, but behind the scene, it connects instructors to venues. So we connect instructors like Bill, who's teaching about how to get to wow with investors. His target group is entrepreneurs. We connect him with venues like WeWork, Salesforce, like Workwise, and he comes into this venue and people can attend his learning and take all the industry knowledge, 20 years of industry knowledge from the person directly.
So give me an example. So Harbir wants to, do a lunch and learn at her location.
Yeah.
Colin wants to do a lunch and learn or some sort of event at his location.
Yeah.
What gap what does that look like to them, as well as someone who wants to attend, and the speaker like Bill? And for those of you who don't know who we're talking about here, that's Bill Reichert. He is with Pegasus Ventures. He runs Startup World Cup. He's all over the world. He's wrote a great book on how to deliver a great pitch. You got to check it out. It's called Getting to Wow. You can find that on Amazon. So you did an event with him, partnered him with a venue. What would that look like with Harbir at the Chamber as well as Colin at Staks?
Yeah. For the buildings, if you have spaces who are ready to host the trainings, we can list them on the platform. Yes, we can list your spaces on the platform. They can be available for other instructors to be booked.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And for the chamber, we can co-organize. We can provide certified courses from certifying or curriculum providers, American curriculum providers. And people who are business owners, who are member of your community of the chamber, they can get access to certified instructors who providing them certifications and content in your place.
Can I ask something?
You can just let it rip. Yeah, go for
Because I
it.
have to be careful, right? I can really let it go.
Yeah, you can go.
So I just want to say, just because of what she's expressing, currently our 20% of our K through 12 students are in a position to deal with technology. Okay, that doesn't mean that they're going to everybody needs to become a scientist. But if only 20% of the community is ready to go into college, into a program that is relating to tech in any way, we have a serious problem. Houston, we have a serious problem. And so, which is why our future is not going to look like the traditional model of education. It has to move into upskilling and constantly refreshing your skills.
Exactly. We see education as a learning journey. It doesn't stop at college. It doesn't make sense to stop at college. It doesn't make sense to just prepare you as a human being to work from 9 to 5. It needs to give you more than this.
And it's not just about even college, because we're seeing that now people are looking for training that has, for anything, you shouldn't have to go to college to be able to have a vocational skill. And I think what you're saying is you're going to be able to provide those. Am I correct?
Yeah, micro-credentials. Yes,
Excellent.
It's about micro-credential in generative AI for business owners, for example.
Yeah, and that education aspect is changing very fast. You know, I sit on the board of finance for a major institution, a major university, and that discussion came up. Like, you know, as finance, you're studying all of these models, these formulas, you know, Black-Scholes derivatives and finance and everything else that comes with it. And if you can chat GPT the formula and give you the exact answer and exactly, you know, explaining it step by step and how it works and everything else, what is the professor going to do with that 80% of time they would have spent trying to explain that? Now they're trying to think ahead of, okay, how do we actually apply this? Applied mathematics. How do you do the critical thinking aspect? Because you don't need to spend 80% of the curriculum just regurgitating the textbook. You can move on and beyond that. But like, they're at this inflection point where they've realized that old curriculum now is defunct.
Correct.
They need to move forward. They need to do the value add. It needs to be almost more applicable to the professional world and everything else. So that conversation is happening fast at the highest levels of education.
Yeah, but education also is about building a brain muscle. It's not about executing Excel sheets. It's about brain wires. It's about brain structure. It's about we say all the time, when we hear especially people talking about AI in education, we tell them education happens in the brain. It doesn't happen outside of the brain. So we need we need to teach people. We still need to teach people, even if we are totally connected. Even if we have ChatGPT, people need to still go to schools. Like food, you cannot. It's food for the brain. You cannot.
So
it is a muscle.
Yeah.
Like it has to be exercised. It does need to be reused over and over and over again, even at the most elementary basic levels, like learning the formula.
And when it comes to kids, and we received many requests from parents working in Silicon Valley, working in big tech. Please create summer camps who are not about tech. Yes, please, about gardening, about cooking. We don't want our kids to touch phones or tabs.
Yeah, I like to this next level, because if you think of other educational platforms, it's just like access on the computer.
It's not education.
And but what you're creating is a more immersive experience where you're partnering with these venues, you're bringing in real time, you're having people engage. And I think that's the connectivity that I want our audience to hear, is that when you're with others, when you're immersed in the community, it reaches the experience that then embeds the education deeper in a deeper meaning. And, and then you have that easier next step because you have a community around you.
Yes, and there is something else. 85% of our financial success is about our practical skills, not technical skills. So whatever you can learn online, it doesn't give you any practical skill, because you're talking to the computer.
We used to learn in home economics. Again, I'm aging myself because I don't think it exists anymore. But as Gen Xers, we used to have home economics. You had to learn how to balance a checkbook.
Taking me back, thought bubble happening right now.
Yeah, well, I made lemon meringue pie, and I just want to tell you, I kind of did a really bad job on that one. But those skills are, I think, what you're referring to, that holistic self-development is what we really need back. And I agree with you about the spatial connection, because we have known now that when there's a physical space and people are together, different parts of your brain activate and you learn better. And I do believe that the whole world has recognized we need to go back to that model.
So let's up-level this. This back to Colin, coming full circle. Here's your ecosystem where people live, eat, work, play, connect. How much more is this ecosystem you're creating with immersing people in what they're so passionate about, creating meaning, more needed now than ever? And so we have all these connectors. The time is right. But we'll dive into that in a second. Brian, we're going to take our quick little break. And when we come back, we'll continue this conversation about connectivity and building.
I just love that so much.
All right, we're back and we're talking with Colin, Harbir, and Walla. And before we went to the break, we started touching on community. But I really wanted to say, we were saying this during the break, how all of what we're doing individually, collectively weaves together so naturally. I mean, we're thinking from the perspective of the chamber, of a startup, and building an ecosystem in Oakland, but yet there's these overlap. And so as we're talking about this and seeing how this body, this ecosystem comes together, what's top of mind for you all from the first half of our conversation in terms of community building? So if our audience is listening and going, I need to learn something new, so I come to Walla and I learn something new, but no, I need resources, and I come to Harbir in the chamber, but no, I need an ecosystem, and so I come to Colin, or I need investment dollars. Where do we begin with this for our startups that are looking to raise or come to the U.S., or even our VCs? Because there's a lot of VCs who don't have access to money right now. They don't have access to resources. How do we start building this community effectively so that we have access to resources and then using them to kind of push the needle? That's a big question. I know you're always going to think, what did he just say?
But those are the kind of questions we should be talking about, actually.
Yeah. So where do we begin with this? Because you all three of you have done really well in building community. Different markets, but collectively together found a unique way to build your community. Where do we start with this?
Well, in the real estate world, where like inherently that's where our origin was from, everything is an individual product. You have an office, you have apartments, you have retail, they all stand alone. They have their own individual landlord, their own individual owner, lenders, insurance company, management team, everything is fractured. They're all individuals. But an ecosystem, which is pretty much, if you look at the FANG stocks, the Fab 7, every big $1 trillion company, they're all ecosystems. They're not just a product. Because you look at Apple, they have the entire, app store. They have all of their products are all interconnected. Everything works together. You buy one, you benefit from the other, and then eventually, all of a sudden, your entire desktop is full of super sleek steel-colored products. So they figured it out. Google, the entire ecosystem for them. Microsoft, their ecosystem. Tesla, moving from solar to cars and everything else. Mm-hmm. It has to be an ecosystem in order to be truly valuable. So for real estate, they're still individual products. No matter how cool it is or how big it is, like Salesforce Tower, it's an office building. Residential towers all across San Francisco or Oakland or even New York, like what building does it talk to? None. Your relationship with your landlord is rent. Pay rent, and I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're in venture capital. I don't care if you're a billionaire tech startup. Like, just pay me your rent. But that person was worth so much more. Mm-hmm. Their connections, their knowledge, their the wealth of resources they could bring to a community. Why would a management team or a landlord or an owner stop at rent? So exactly. to actually leverage what you've built and the amazing people that you've enabled to be in that community, and to just throw it all out after rent, like it never made sense to us. So when we're looking at community, if you wanted to build any major ecosystem, any major venture firm or astute investor is going to ask, okay, what does your ecosystem actually do? And it's like, okay, well, it needs the 3 C's: community, content, and commerce. If you have community and you're supplying the content, it's going to lead to commerce and in a way to monetize it all. So if you're able to accomplish those 3 things, effectively community leads to that commerce and that connections of other people. And if connections are your currency, because it's almost more important, the resources and people that you can gather and the people you know. And if you have currency, you have choice, you have freedom.
Yeah.
So all of it is interconnected, and you have to have community, you have to build it, you have to foster it, and you have to keep it going.
Harbir, build on that, because Colin's talking from the perspective. I mean, that's an amazing perspective on business. It's just, that's going to be a clip moving forward. But build on this from the perspective of Silicon Valley, where there are so many silos.
And that's exactly what I was about to say, that I think you should just pitch my chamber from now on. I think you did a better job of pitching my chamber than anything else at the moment. But I agree with you, Brian. It's all about the sense of community. And the problem I think we've seen in the recent years is we have these pendulum swings. We go from everything being one extreme to the other extreme. First, it was all about software, then it was back about hardware, and then it's all about AI. We continue to do these swings, and we keep forgetting that is where things break. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing this all over. The American structure, American experiment right now is falling apart because we run in extremes. And we also don't learn from the rest of the world. There's just so much to learn. But when it comes to the chambers, that's exactly what we're trying to do. That is why we are the convener. We are the party that brings all these elements together. If a startup or founder is listening to this, let me tell you one thing. Don't expect to know all the answers by yourself.
Yes. Say it again.
Yes.
That is so true.
Don't expect to know all the answers by yourself. You are maybe an expert on a subject, but that doesn't mean you are an expert on running business operations, as an example. Just because you're really good at maybe the technology, maybe you need a product manager or a product founder. You got to do it together. And I think that is what we are very pushy about, that get out there and build your network. Let me just keep this very simple. You need a network before you need the network. You cannot build a network when it's time to use the network. And I say that because people are continuing to go back into this silos of, I am fine, it's just me and my computer. I don't need to socialize with my neighbors. I don't need to talk to the businesses down the street. You absolutely do. We don't live without each other. And that is where the chamber, of course, is centered on commerce. And that includes, as we talked about, the workforce, that includes the businesses, that includes the public, and then includes the ecosystem around it. And that's where we come in. We bring all those components together. So you as a startup founder, come over. We're going to connect you to community focus groups. We're going to connect you to potential business problems. We're going to connect you to potential, investors. We're going to connect you to physical spaces, the toolkits, and the opportunities to get educated. But that chamber is the home for this conversation.
I love that. So talk about I keep turning away. Well, talk about from the perspective of a startup. It's so paramount to have the network in place before needing the network. How have you gone about as a startup building your network to get the traction that you've gotten so quickly?
Yeah. So I think it was very, very natural. As an ex-outsider of the Bay Area, I think what's happening here and what makes the Bay Area very special is the collaboration and co-creation between different stakeholders. I started the first class with Bill because nobody said no. Mm-hmm. I asked Bill and he said yes. I asked the classroom and they said yes. And I was selling to entrepreneurs and they said yes, and it worked. And I wrote on LinkedIn a post about it. This is what makes Silicon Valley special. Everybody's down to try to do anything new, and this is something that's really, really special to this region. I've been into other ecosystems, collaboration, co-creation. This city and this region is built if you can check Luma, for example. This is an app that's co-created. The content is co-created by the users of the app. For ClassX, it's the same. We are nothing without our instructors. We are nothing without our hosts. So it's a product, a network product that's created and built by the community itself.
So I want to say something really quick about what you just said. It's like you didn't get the no's, and you just asked. But I think there's a split there between the way people can look at that. Some may say, great, I'm just going to go out and ask for money, and then they're not going to say no and set that expectation, and they're looking to kind of take. However, what you did was you actually saw value, connected value, provided value, right? Like you took Bill and you said, I think what you have to offer is valuable. I want to connect you with this audience, which played to what he values. And so he said, yes. The venue said, you're going to bring in Bill? That's valuable to us. Heck yeah. And then you're going to provide this opportunity to record it and amplify it. You're bringing value. So I think what I want to say to our audience, find way to bring value before looking to extract value from others. That is an important distinction. And I think that's what all three of our guests are getting at. It's like, how can you connect people to value before you start saying, hey, look, I kind of need something in return as well? Because it is reciprocal, and you can't just take without giving.
But value also means different things. And I really appreciate you brought this up. And I think that's where we have to go away from the transactional system. The money exchange is a sign of success and creation of value. It is not. Value comes in very many different forms. It's access to resources. It's a network. It's a contact. It could be an education piece. It could be a tip. It could be anything. And when you create value and you offer value, value will always return.
Yes.
And I think that is the most critical component.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that we need to be there to bring value to people. It's not just about asking and nobody said no. It's about people who are seeing the value in what we are building. So they wanted to be in. They wanted to contribute, to give a hand, to test. Bill challenged me. I was pitching him, and he was like, so you mean that if I want to give a class about my book to entrepreneurs, you will connect me with a venue and people will come to learn? I said, yes. And if I don't sell Bill Rickard, who would I sell? So if I don't sell a class of Bill Rickard, what would I do? I sent him an email. I told him I would change I would shut down my startup. I would change the job if I don't do it. So it's all about value, and it goes without saying that we need to create value. We don't ask for things just like that.
There is another element, though. Like you made it sound simple, and then you brought it up again, Brian, talking about, you asked and he said yes. That's great. Okay, that sounds easy. And then ultimately, I'll bet there was a 1,000 no's and or amplifications of you trying to get to that simple conversation of yes. The number one, like, most important thing that has enabled us to be in the position that we are in today was just pure persistence.
Yeah.
And tenacity, and to just keep going. And there's 1,000 no's, or there's 1,000 redirects.
No.
Yes, and
there's 1,000 of them, but like persistence, ambition, and just like sheer willpower to do what you believe in. And like, there's always like the Steve Jobs, approach where, the easiest way to predict the future is to build it.
Reality distortion theory. That thing,
and like for a lot of people, like Stak, looking at complete integration of live, work, play, go, and all of these operations of residential, office, transit, car share, co-working. Somebody made a joke to me, like, to my face. I didn't know if they were making fun of me or making a joke, but they said you just took like 4 failing business industries and threw them in a blender. Like car share and co-working and like all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it came out as like this beautiful smoothie.
Yeah, it's going to be a delicious
smoothie now.
Right. We call it a salad because smoothie means like it ruins all its like individual characteriteristics.
We're now a salad.
Thank you very much.
Where all your broken companies are now little pieces mixed together.
I love it. So what I'm hearing what I was thinking as well as you were talking,
persistence.
A lot of startups can get in survival mode, and so they're just desperate for what they can get to survive, and I get that. what I'm also hearing is that in order to generate longevity, you need to have some sort of sustained reinforcement. And whether you're brought up in it, like you and I are second generation entrepreneurs, Colin. And so we have this experience like this is possible. However, if you don't have that experience of where this is possible, you may have a short fuse when met with this the survival instinct where it's like, oh, they said no, I'm going to back out. So the persistent, I think, comes from a number of things. One, connectivity to relationships, building that network beforehand, and that could be, intentional, where it's like, okay, I'm going to go to Silicon Valley for a year, or I'm going to go wherever I want to go for a year, and I'm going to meet people. Or it's like you and I brought up, Colin, for those of you who don't see me pointing, you're brought up in, an entrepreneurial family, and it's like, okay, I've seen it. Where I've seen it to be so remarkable is people who have immigrated to Silicon Valley, they don't have the experience, they don't have the resources, but they still come here with this character that says, I'm going to honor the ecosystem, get to know it, and build from there rather than just cannonball into the ecosystem and expect. I think that comes from somebody traditionally, I don't mean to stereotype, who lives here, doesn't have the experience in it, and then says, oh, I can do that. And then they don't have the resilience.
And perseverance.
Yeah.
And perseverance. Yeah.
I think all of this goes back to our relationship to ourselves, our relationship, like our inner relationship. If you ask me how did it work and why did it click with Bill, I would say it was aligned. That's it. Yeah, there was an alignment, and when there is an alignment, things click very quickly. So I think it's all about this. Even the entrepreneurial journey, it's psychological, it's a spiritual journey. It turns back to who we are and how we deal inside ourselves. Yeah. Because everything outside is a reflection of what's going on, what's happening outside.
Yeah, we're getting deep here. This is good stuff.
I want to kind of dwell on that a little bit, what you said about this journey and how you found somebody you connected with.
I manifested Bill, by the way.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, I won't go on down that angle.
I intentionally manifested Bill.
But I think the part that there's an element here is that we need to surround ourselves with those that are in the same space. Okay? When you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, or a corporate giant, you cannot go it alone. And I'm telling you, being a CEO is a very lonely place. Yeah. I don't know who to bounce my ideas off half the time. It's me talking to the wall or myself. But the reason I say that is that, no, I'm not psycho. That was a joke. So just to clarify for the listeners. Is that it's important to surround yourself by being around the community who is in the same mindset. Okay. And that's where it is very important to also identify Silicon Valley is the only place that allows you to try and fail and say, get up and let's do it again. Because that's part of what makes Silicon Valley. I want to tell you, Brian, we had, I was like so honored that, and I think I might have told you this on the call, that the Senegalese president came and wanted to meet with us. And I'm like, oh my God, like we're like nobody. Come on. I mean, we are somebody, but you know what I mean. And he said, Harbir, I want to do this because the average age is dropping to like 17 to 20 in Senegal. I said, how do you run a society between 17 and 20 people? I mean, your age group. I said, look, if I was to tell you the secret sauce is not the physical geography of this location. It is the mindset.
Yeah.
Celebrating collaboration. Celebrating the collective development or co-development. Celebrating failure and learning from that failure. Promoting and rewarding those that make the attempt. And rewarding those that stay persistent. Mm-hmm. I had my startup in 2010, 2011. I was about 10 to 15 years too far ahead. Even till now, those products aren't out yet. But now we're in the ecosystem that they could come out. And I will tell you, maybe if I had better guidance, maybe if I had both of you sitting on my sides and Brian, maybe I wouldn't have given up on that product. But the point of starting and failing was essential. The point of starting and knowing when not to continue was also important. Because you need to put your energy and your resources to things that are not just connected to your emotions, but it can objectively deliver as well. which is why it's important to surround yourself with people that are in the space, are experts. Our chamber provides you access to the ecosystem of advisors, of mentors. Who can you go and learn from? What are the tools to help you run a business effectively? How do you create a business? What are the things you need to consider to be able to ensure that you can stand and last through your entrepreneurial idea? These things sound very so simple, but the execution and the delivery of those things is what gets you to where these two are.
Yeah, I love you started that with, again, building the team, building the community. That's kind of been the theme the second half of this hour. Colin, I want to ask you, I know you've seen this with, the teams you've built, been a part of over your career. We're talking about a community at large, but let's start with the smaller community, the team, and we'll talk about how you built your startup. But what characteristics have you seen in building an early stage team that have been successful in your career?
Going into the team building aspect, and especially with a lot of the businesses that we run, and with Stak being this integrated real estate ecosystem, it's actually a collection of multiple operations. Residential, commercial office, amenities, and co-working flex and car share. These are entirely separate teams for a lot of different companies. For us, it's just this small group that has just tried to find a way through to do a whole lot and kind of punch above our weight. The biggest things is to have people that are super hungry, super curious, and they just generally are personally interested in solving that world. Mm-hmm. Real estate, the human experience, we interact with all our space every day, all day. Mm-hmm. To make that better. You need people that are specifically interested in that future. People that are just coming in to do a job 9 to 5 and that kind of thing, they're going to be very productive in the item that they want to apply themselves to. But in our space where it's so dynamic and changing every day, it's the two most important things are just really being hungry to do new things and to improve everything you touch. You're never satisfied with that thing in front of you. It could be better, and I want to make it better. And you can't help but try to engineer something better. You
remind me of what Ray Dalio said about the characteristics that he looks for in a good teammate. And he says that the three are hungry, humble, and smart. And so this idea
Absolutely.
Of being hungry and humble has to kind of subcategorize into this idea of being creative with the resources you have. And if you're in this silo of thinking like, oh no, that's my role is this, I show up at 9, I go home at 5, they clock out. It's like they don't need to be hungry. They don't need to be creative. They just kind of like been told what to do and they react. Yep. But Harbir,
I'm going to also just chime in there with the humility. Honestly, from Colin's perspective, you also have to be able to think on behalf of the people that you're serving and what do they need instead of just handing them more of the same.
Empathetic, yeah.
Empathetic and thoughtful and creative in on behalf of your customer or your end user, so that you're able to not just, like I said, like I'm God, I'm going to give you what I think you need, but what do you need? And ask questions, right? And dig deep.
Definitely that piece of it actually comes from the power of observation, where you can see something is missing. Mm-hmm. Like you can see your customer or your user interacting with something and running into a problem and running into an issue. Like they can't complete the sign up, the onboarding. They want to use it, but they can't. Being able to see them struggle, see the problem before anybody has to tell you, mm-hmm. and to notice like, okay, we can smooth this out. We can remove the friction. This can be easier. This could be cheaper, more efficient, whatever it is. Being able to just observe and be able to know where you need to go before somebody had to tell you, that's going to be, putting you 90 steps ahead of everybody else, just because you can literally soak in that experience and observe where you need to go ahead of time.
I think that's, Harbir, your point earlier about knowing when to stop. It goes.
One thing I want to say about that conversation is fail small, fail small, fail fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in real estate, there is zero forgiveness for failing. Mm-hmm. You cannot throw the keys to the bank. You cannot lose the investor's capital. In real estate, it's one and done. But if you fail a million little things fast and you get rid of them before anybody finds out, and then you build and build and then you get to where you want to go, it doesn't look like you ever failed. But if you failed 100 times along the way, very small, and you fix them quick, all of a sudden you end with that product where it's super smooth, well-rounded, and all those jagged edges just got molded out.
I think oftentimes startups that was a great in-depth look at what the pivot looks like. And
lots of pivoting.
Lots of pivoting, right? It's not this big moment of, I'm going this direction 1 minute and now I'm doing a 180 the other direction. It's making those little corrective turns based on the empathy of the market or who you're serving. There may be time for a full stop. There may be a time for a quick turn. There may be a time for, hey, let's press on. And I think that's what you're alluding to. I mean, what I felt, Harbir, when you were saying, like, we just need to kind of be connected to the point to know what we need to do next. But working with the chamber, what have you seen has been effective in building teams to move such a big community and a resourceful community from your perspective?
In terms of moving, I guess, can you ask that again a little bit differently?
So it's like we're talking about building a community that we're all just kind of coming to the table, bringing resources. There's a give and take, there's a balance. But usually there's a core also. There's a core of individuals who are early adopters. There are those who have character qualities that amplify your own, challenge your own. They're the stress test in the room. It's not just everyone saying yes, but yet there's still that core group. When you're looking for people to push an initiative, an agenda, a business, who are those? What are those qualities you look for in people that you want closest to you when the crowd is gone?
Good. That's a very good question. That is just, I think, the nature that I bring to the programs that I work in is incremental improvement. Do they understand the value of that? Do they think this is where I'm trying to always merge the agile and iterative models of tech to other parts of our life, and specifically in this case, business functions. And for me, ability to be flexible is very important. Number 3, ability to be passionate to create value. Right? It's just my thing. And if anybody knows me, I'm a civic entrepreneur at heart, is that I'm always looking at ways to create value and see how can I make things better. And that's a personality trait. And I think when I find people like that, I know I can count on them. I deal with the world where we have traditional business owners and even sometimes of our board members who think, well, this is how it was done and that's how it needs to be done. But for me it's not easy actually to explain that model doesn't work anymore. And so I have to constantly show by example. And that is why my work week there's no limit to my work week. I love what I do. So showing by example is the way I'm able to teach people these new ways and new success stories. Because traditional business owners or business owners as well as business leaders have very rigid thinking about, well, this is how you do this and this is how you present your case. Where's the business plan? Does a business plan have all these elements? And I'm like, it's very dynamic and fluid now. So you have to build fluidity into that plan. You have to build in those skills into my staff. All the staff I have coincidentally ended up being all women. It wasn't by design. It just ended up being that way. And I have about 7 people on my team. And they all have one common skill, that they are comfortable utilizing their potential in new spaces. And if they can show me their aptitude to learn different skills, apply themselves into different spaces that they're not comfortable with, they're a keeper.
I love that. I love it. So we're getting close to time. I want to definitely summarize everything that we've talked about. Well, I'm going to ask you a little bit about team, but then how can people connect with you? Quick about the team, how can people connect with you? And then Harbir, I'll ask you, how can people connect with you? Colin, same thing. But Walla, I want to learn how you've built your team as well.
Okay, so first of all, I work with 9 hours time difference with my team. So I work with them before sleeping and when I wake up, because they are totally in a different time zone in Tunisia, in France. So we connect during the night, my night or their night, and I knew every member of the team since at least 7 years. So it's whether we went to university together or we worked together in the same ecosystem as entrepreneurs or people who worked with me. I was their first mentor or boss, or so, and they came back then to work with me again. And one of the most important things is first alignment. Are we aligned? It means that do we share the same values? Do we see this company as a purpose company? Are we obsessed by the mission of the company? So this, are we aligned, and is there a growth mindset? If we fall, we quickly stand up. So is this attitude existing within the person in the team or not?
And you've assessed this over time. Yeah,
yes.
Because they've been with you 7 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, they weren't with. Yeah, I knew them. They were like 1 year, 2 year, and then they left for other jobs, and then they came back to build ClassX. They came back a year ago when I moved to the Bay Area. So being aligned and this growth mindset, because we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
All the time.
I love that, and I think that is on the surface oftentimes overlooked. Looking at how people. How their character is.
Yeah, and when we hire someone new, everyone decides if this person is aligned or not, or this person can keep on being with us or not. Everybody can say, it doesn't work, it's not aligned, so.
I love it. So real quick before we wrap up, how can people connect with you and learn more about ClassX?
Yeah, connect through LinkedIn. So I'm Wala Kasmi. So we can connect through LinkedIn, or otherwise you can create your account join our community on classx.tech.
I love that. And Harbir, how can people connect with you?
The website is svcentralchamber.com. You can find me on LinkedIn as Harbir, Harbir Bhatia. And if I may just say, one thing that we're I just want to add up in the summary here is that in today's day, a platform of trust is very critical in anything we do because it creates efficiencies that we don't get with formal structures. And today's ability to be pivoting, to move quickly, to create new values every day, you have to have a platform of trust that you're surrounded by people that don't require extra layers of governance, extra layers of understanding. So that's why I was going to say, same with me, my team are people I've known for so many years. So again, just want to let that be out there, be around, create a platform of trust. Go to svcentralchamber.com, join up on our subscription membership, or become a full member and experience what it means to be surrounded by like-minded individuals, and look me up on LinkedIn.
I love it. All right, Colin.
Yep. I know you can reach me personally at Colin Behring on LinkedIn. And then if you're looking at Stak, it's STAK. So stakventures.com or stakspace.com to see the whole campus. We're looking for everybody to join that community that's either in the investment space, venture, founders, startups, anybody in between. Yeah, no, we want to have everybody because that community is the biggest part of what makes real estate any kind of value.
I love it. Well, thank you all for being here on short notice
too.
Brian,
You guys
for
are the
rock
invitation.
stars.
Fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Brian.
I only have short notice, so here we go.
Brian, thank you for a great show. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you all being here. And we will see you next week here on Silicon Valley Impact.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.